Speaking of horrific things that are about to happen to you, ladies and gentlemen, our real estate correspondent is back. Oh, let's hit the graphics, boys. This one, I go back and forth on which one's my favorite. Hit this one or Baker. You've seen him in the New York Times, also profiled in the Wall Street Journal. Both big publications, people. Jonathan Schulz is back. Jonathan Schulz. Oh, thanks, Piggy. Well, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you both?
Better now that you're back. I hope you were able to see my promo tweet featuring you, me, Alfred Schultz, and Pepper, R.I.P. As you can see, it's a very big dog show today.
Yeah, there is a dog in the studio. Yeah, that's a tough photo to
what do you mean?
To handle.
What do you mean?
I really think I get I think I have the brunt of it in that one too.
I love the pose. I have to tell you.
I think if you're gonna make fun of, like, if you had to pick one to make fun of, you're gonna go directly to me.
A lot of people notice my pleats. I'll put it that way.
Well,
you know what, Bill, you look pretty good in that, actually. A nice smile. You know, I think the pleats are a product of the time. But yeah, I don't know what's going on.
It does look like you're sinking into the ground a little bit, like the ground is devouring you. But if I did learn anything from America's Next Top Model, and when they were doing the group photo shoots, okay, you need to stand out. You need to do what you can. Pretend no one else is there, and you are doing that. That is your glamour shot moment.
I'm kind of giving it to you right now.
Yes.
Yeah, no, it's you look very placid. I forgot that we had the. I always notice little things in this gem of a pic that Mom displays not very prominently in the room that I usually stay in. Is that the fire was going? I forgot. That's a nice touch.
Yeah.
Well, and also, I definitely with when you have an afro, trying to do Anthony Michael Hall's bangs and Weird Science is not the way to go. But I was really trying to make that work as impossible as it was to make it work.
I can't tell what's going on there. Like, your hair's not parted in the middle, but it's.
I was trying to have the bangs, also seen prominently on Michael J. Fox and The Secret of My Success. I wanted a little column A and a little column B, and it just is not happening with that hair, no matter what you do. Alfred, of course, looks adorable. Yeah, lots of things going on there. All of them bad. Well, enough about our amazing past. We have a whole lot of fun things here for you.
So much to get to.
I know. Well, and was there? If you had sent me an email, I didn't see it. Was there
no,
one that
I
really?
Forgot to. I'm sorry.
Well, you don't have. Of course, never have to.
Well, the Seth Rogen thing was an interesting one. That he's, I guess, having people over to his place.
This is, he's from Canada. I think he is at that point in his career where he does not realize how L.A. he's become, and this will be the example.
So. Yes.
Pineapple Express star Seth Rogen is organizing a sleepover with an elevated itinerary. A part of the promotion for his cannabis and homewares company, Houseplant, Rogen is inviting friends to stay over at a California property stocked with a variety of the company's wares. Rogen, 40, will be present at all three of the one-night stays set to take place this month at his Los Angeles home, which is, quote, his creative retreat. For others, it's just a home. The sleek modern space is outfitted with mid-century modern furniture. I like that. Rogen's own ceramic creations. A yard, a mid-century modern a thoughtful selection of plants. Wink. And
thoughtful.
Well, there is a disclaimer at the end.
I thought it was very, and by the way, what a bummer of a disclaimer. Fully stocked fridge, a pottery wheel. During your stay, you will get a glimpse into my creative process, says Rogen. Add me, and you'll have the ultimate experience. It's a little bold of him. After all, says the company founder, I am Houseplant, he declared. The overnight experiences are priced at just $42 a night. How is he going to sift through all these nominees? During this time, guest activities will include pointers from the Sausage Factory actor about making pottery. Specially curated track lists inspired by different cannabis strains. There'll be a vinyl box set. Despite the marijuana-heavy pun press materials, the fine print makes clear, listen to this, no cannabis-based products will be made available or provided to the guests during their stay.
Then
It's
what's the
California.
point?
Seriously. This is
Yeah.
happening February 15th. That's both your special day and Douglas's special day. Her new hubby. 16th and 17th, and cost affordable for $42.
Sorry, can you
like-
turn clay at this home too? What's going
I'm
on?
assuming you can do that.
I like how we're going to step into and understand part of his creative process. That to me just sounds like we're going to all smoke weed together.
Yeah.
He is on record as being 24/7 stoned. Feel free to chime in, boys. You're certainly the cannabis correspondents for all of our weed pieces. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Slumber parties as adults. Where's their head on that? 'Cause
I
that's
think
essentially what it is.
if you listen to enough Seth Rogen interviews, and I've heard him a few times on Howard, I get to the point where I can't stand his voice and his laugh.
Yeah.
And I think that if I were there and having to hang out with him a long time, I think it would drive me crazy. I mean, it's
actually not bad.
Wait,
it's
he's
horrible.
gonna be there?
Yes. He's there every
not the
each
whole
night.
time. I don't think the whole time. I bet you'd be there an hour with him at the
Probably
most.
to
but, yeah.
greet the guests, but then I think he would take off.
Yeah.
Nice. I don't get the $42 a night. I mean, what is the point of this?
Publicity. It's publicity for his
420?
yeah.
Maybe?
Oh, that's all he cares about.
Well, yeah, but it's not going to be at 420
No, but 42 is
yeah.
close to 420. I don't know.
or
Good
Jackie
call.
Robinson.
Good call.
I mean,
that.
honestly, if he charged 420, people would still. I
Yeah.
don't understand.
I don't think he needs the money.
Yeah, certainly not.
In terms of that. But yeah, it's funny that we were talking about sleepovers. The Today Show had a whole segment today about how sleepovers are kind of a dying thing, that parents don't like them anymore. But yeah, I thought that was interesting.
That is sad. Well, I
It's
know.
a huge part of my youth.
Well, your daughter's has lots of sleepovers with her cousin. I know that, and they always look forward to that. And sleepovers were huge for us. Were you a big sleepover kid? Your mom didn't really like you, so that meant you were out of the house.
My mother wouldn't let children sleep over our house because my mother was the elementary school music teacher. So she didn't want the kids she
that
was
gets weird, yeah.
teaching to be sleeping at her home. But I was allowed to go to other friends' houses, which I did enjoy. And it's important because that's when you realize that other people's homes smell different from yours. You know?
Very you.
Yeah, and the only time you ever get to understand how your home smells is when you go away for a long period of time and then come back. You're like, oh, this is our home smell.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's a slight nudge into the reality of class system. I got to stay at friends' homes who lived in 2-story houses, and they had, little balconies or little vestibules in their homes. And my little ranch home had none of that.
You're a very slight creature. You don't need a second story. All right? One is good enough for you. I'll tell you that right now. Any fond or bad memories from slumber parties past?
No, it was just always weird, sleeping in weird places. Or
I
remember always bringing a sleeping bag, and we would sleep in like a basement and watch TV or something like that. And I remember every once in a while you'd go to one for the first time, and they're like, "You're gonna sleep in his other bed." And I remember always being weirded out sleeping in someone else's sheets. Which is not a weird thing at all, but I always remember thinking, I hope they've cleaned the sheets, which is a weird thing for a little boy to be thinking. But
Well, yeah,
Good for you.
definitely. When I got more to high school age, the girls would just sleep in bed with the other girls.
Yeah.
It got weird for me when it got weird for me when I had to be like, "Hey, will you help me put on my back brace?" And to this day, my best friend Taylor, we're still friends. She would get so weirded out. She's just kind of like a cringy person, and so
It's
having
not
to,
gross.
Velcro me in. Well, my skin would bubble over where the Velcro because it's tight, And so she'd always be like, "Is it on right? I don't know."
I think I've told you this before, Jonathan. I'd always just picture little Joanne in a water park and sinking like a rock. Because she was essentially an anchor with that metal contraption on.
I couldn't.
It was metal.
Couldn't stay in.
I don't think
waterbed.
I knew about your back brace.
Oh, yeah, she had scoliosis.
Yeah.
And like a little trooper, she fixed it without surgery because
That's
she was
right.
very responsible with her back brace.
Hell yeah, and it
It
was
reminds me
cheaper.
of like Forrest Gump and his leg braces.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Straighten you right up.
exactly like that.
He became he cocooned from that to a running butterfly, and you were a beauty pageant one.
Yeah,
So
I
there you
do
go.
still feel like he's accomplished more than me, though.
I know. Well, he had a lot of
annoying.
breaks because he's, I guess, what we call special needs now. There used to be other words for it. Well, I definitely, I thought you were going to say on the Today Show that the new trend was adult sleepover parties, which I think I still kind of do from time to time. If I'm if I'm visiting a friend in Brooklyn, chances are I'm staying the night, whether or not they want me to or not. Even though in hindsight it's not that much of a commute, but I know that's going to be a thing, and if it's not a thing, a big thing, particularly with freelance writers, is just making up a trend and saying it is one.
Yes,
so I could
yes,
pitch that and
yes.
say adult sleepover parties, particularly post-pandemic, are a big thing now.
wait,
In fact, mental note.
Bobby disagrees.
If you're a 22-year-old girl and you win a sleepover with Seth Rogen, is that not just asking for it if you're Seth Rogen? Like, this is a good chance to get in trouble.
Yeah.
I agree with that, but here's the thing. He has come down so hard on James Franco that he would not risk it.
I think he protests too much.
You know what? Stoners are a lot of things, Bobby, and you can stand to this. They're not hypocrites.
Are they forgetful?
Okay, that's a good point.
Yeah, that's a good point, too.
Yeah, and by the way, Bobby just forgot what you said.
Yeah.
Well, all right. It's dealer's choice. Otherwise, we've got a lot of stuff here.
I like the idea of the privacy at home. I talk about that a lot, at least when I'm showing. There's a whole article on Talker that you gave me. Is where's the best place to hide when you're looking for privacy at home? The trend over the last 15, 20 years has been people like living in an open environment where, you just have these huge loft-like rooms where the kitchen's open to the living room, open to the dining room. And I get it, especially in apartment living. If you're cooking in a kitchen that's far away, you kind of feel like you're isolated. But there's something to be said about having multiple rooms also. And I think more and more developers are getting a little bit further away from that huge open concept because let's say you have a 3-bedroom apartment or a 2-bedroom apartment, but everything else is open. You really have nowhere else to go to hide from other people. And not necessarily you need to hide, but it's nice to be alone sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
And when you have these big open spaces, it's very, very difficult other than your bedroom. They talk about this in the article is that for the most part, when people have kids or live with multiple people, the best place to hide is the toilet, basically.
I remember that being a key plot point in actually Seth Rogen wasn't in that one, but a Judd Apatow movie. This is 40. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Paul Rudd was having a lot of fake
like,
bathroom time.
I'm pooping, and it's like it's taking you that long.
Well, I have to give Joe and Douglas credit. I'm sure because it was Douglas's idea. They do have a separate room where like she could do a little stepper size, whatever the workout things you do.
It's called a workout.
I'm sure it's stepper size.
Zoom classes, whatever it is. And he can go in there and watch what's the HBO show?
Forged in Fire.
No. The one with the preteens naked.
Oh,
that's where he can go.
Euphoria.
He can go and watch Euphoria in there. But they do have
weird?
a private room.
He likes Euphoria and watching men make swords.
The sword part I can kind of get.
It is important, and I think you are seeing that, with people working at home now too, having like a designated, separate, private space to do work, but also to do work or just scroll on your phone just because you want like some alone time.
Oh my God, yeah.
Isn't there a really great episode of South Park where it's not open concept? They just keep adding walls to rooms. I'm going to ask my South Park experts in the booth. Y'all watch
Remember,
that show, right?
stoners are very forgetful. That sounds familiar.
Maybe.
Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
So it's like an HGTV episode, and maybe they're like looking for homes or redecorating a home, and one of them just like keeps putting up the thing is that they just keep putting up more and more walls as opposed to taking them down. Unless I thought this up, and that's a really great idea for a sketch.
A lot of people say that you put up figurative walls, Joe.
But no, I don't love open concept. I
don't
really
either.
like rooms, and I think, with trends like everything, the pendulum will swing one way or another. And a part of me does feel like maybe that's going to start to go away a little bit more.
Also,
and just
like,
having defined spaces.
If you like to entertain, and my wife and I occasionally like to have friends over, I want my kids to be able to go somewhere other than just hang out in their bedroom. So we have multiple rooms, not like we have this huge house, but we do have multiple rooms that we can send our kids that they don't have to be around us when we're having people over, friends over.
Where's your go-to?
And I think that's really important.
Where's your go-to space to escape everybody? And
it just depends on where they are. It's wherever they're not at that
good
moment.
answer.
I heard this was horrific.
Yeah.
That's why she had to
Imagine
watch it high.
I can't. I'm not allowed to be high.
I love the little red in her eyes, too.
I can't. Well, you know who else can't be high anymore? Ashton Kutcher. He admitted he's banned from smoking weed after a THC edible made him think he and Mila Kunis were broke. You're going to need to read this for yourself, says BuzzFeed News. At 44 years old, he's now a dad of 2, and he's put his partying days firmly in the past.
Much younger.
But for good reasons. In a brand new interview with Esquire, Ashton opened up about a wide range of topics spanning from divorce to drugs, telling one interesting story about his decision to give up weed. Turns out they were in Italy. I think they were there for like a friend's wedding or something. It doesn't say. Yes, it was a friend's wedding, actually. He decided to take a THC mint and then said that shit did not go well. He became convinced he'd lost all feeling from the waist down, so he panicked and decided he should head back to his room. He couldn't remember where it was, so he had to have his wife Mila lead him back there. Once he got back there, he thought it was a convenient time to check his finances. Before long, he concluded that him and Mila were completely bankrupt, like so broke they should probably head home. He's like, we can't even afford to be here right now. The next day, it occurred to him where he'd gone wrong. I realized I had moved the decimal point.
Wow. That is some
But I'm
very strong
sorry,
stuff.
if you are a celebrity, I'm assuming you have 7 figures. Even if you move a decimal point, hi, welcome to being a middle-class American.
But he was at the state where he couldn't feel his legs, so I think there was
Yeah.
more going on there. By the way, are you just going to dive into all of this when you finally don't have to take drug tests anymore?
Oh my gosh. I ask this so frequently at shows. Like this past weekend, I was hosting at Levity Live. Christina Hutchinson was headlining. So she's got like a very interesting fan base because her whole thing is her podcast is Guys We Fucked.
Yes.
Right. So you get such a there was a quadruple like in front row.
Like not a throuple, but
couple.
4.
Exactly. And so
What do they look like?
At what point is it a double date? And at what point is it one date with 4 people?
it was literally fascinating. I was like, I don't even want to do comedy. I just want to talk to you guys.
No kidding.
Yeah.
But I asked, I was like, so when I can retire in 4 years, what drug should I do? And some woman, like, real quick was like, acid. And I was like,
Wow.
I feel like you.
Are not strong.
Exactly. I'm like, don't you build up to a drug like that?
Stay away from that awful, awful drug.
I don't know what any of them do, right? Like, I vaguely know what pot will do, and
It ain't like what it used to be, I'll tell you that much. But it's like you would think at this point, considering how many states have legalized it and whatnot, if you're on a set amount of rest and relaxation or whatever in the armed forces, they should not test you and give you enough of an allotted time for it to leave your system, something like that, right?
So we are tested. There's the possibility that you could be tested every month, right? So every month I show up for drill on my 1 weekend a month. They have to drug test a minimum, at least 10%, and every quarter they have to drug test 90% of the unit.
Wow.
Yeah. So you could be in that 10%. It's random, but you could be in that 10% 3 months in a row. So there's no opportunity really for you to.
Is there anyone who keeps getting picked in that 10% every time?
I did have one soldier who's like he got picked 2 months in a row. And I mean, this kid is like, he's, scout, Eagle Scout kind of thing.
right.
Like, he's not doing anything, but. Yeah,
It's just because it is so. There's so many states that are legalized, and more to come. You think. I mean, like any soldier who's on a break can drink themselves stupid, but they can't.
I kind of get it. It's like, if you're just going to do it recreationally, then like, why do it?
Well, police officers are now allowed to, I mean, it's legal in New Jersey. So if you're a police officer in New Jersey, you can be a pothead, but they're like, you can't smoke within X amount of hours of coming on duty.
Which is the same with alcohol.
I need to ask my brother-in-law, who's a New Jersey cop,
Yeah.
about his buddies. He's not really, I don't think he's this, because I feel like after a certain point, if you aren't a smoker, are you gonna?
Yeah.
I get like the being curious, right? So once you retire, like you might want to try it, but I don't know if you haven't really developed that routine.
But now
to
there's
it.
like edibles are so accessible. There's droplets. Like I mean, there's vape pens. There's so much out there that doesn't require like at least doing the unhealthy version of like inhaling.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, because it's like. Actually, you know exactly what you're getting now rather than when it was on the black market. What is the punishment if someone tests positive for weed?
So here's the problem. It is not hyperbolic to say that legalization of marijuana is becoming a national security issue because it's not federally legal.
Interesting. Yes. Have to deal in cash half the time because no banks will take it because of the federal issues.
No, we can't recruit soldiers because they can't pass a drug test.
Oh my God! Of course.
Yeah, it severely diminishes our recruiting pool. So the two issues right now that are creating the biggest challenge is potheads and obesity.
Obesity, I remember you mentioning, and that makes total sense for obvious reasons because we're just all getting fatter. But like, wow, and of course, one thing does lead to another sometimes. But goddamn, that is fascinating. That's a story that I've yet to read.
Yeah, and you know what?
Ideas today.
What's crazy is that this generation of kids coming up is said to drink less, and they're looking for non-alcoholic alternatives. Like they still enjoy beer and like craft and stuff, but non-alcoholic or low-alcohol beers becoming popular, and you listen to some of these brewery people or these neuroscientists who are like, yeah, people just don't want to drink as much. I'm like, no, they're just doing drugs.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We did an article on that recently, that like Gen Z, they're less interested, but they're doing other drugs instead. And sometimes it's like because it's cheaper than booze even.
Sure, but also you don't have to worry about how you're going to find a ride home, Ubers, all that stuff. Like I don't know, it's legal in so many places where there's no risk.
So then my question is, in terms of the recruiting, have like the tactics changed on like where to find the right people? Is it like, let's go to Utah or like?
No, well, one thing we've had to do is we basically implemented a pre-basic training fat camp. So
unbelievable.
If you are
fascinating.
If you're considering, but you're currently at a point where we will allow you to be so much overweight before you get to basic training, but even kids are surpassing that. So we have to get them to the like acceptable limit and then hope that also during basic training they continue losing weight.
Yeah.
Because we have height weight standards, right? Like I'm only allowed to be so fat.
That is, oh my God. That is crazy.
What if I can't? What if I can only do a push-up on my knees?
No.
I think you knew the answer to that.
Not made. I wasn't built to do push-ups. I think I try, and it's just really hard.
Well, look,
the real hero.
I would say I am Rubenesque, but I am literally at the upper limits of what I'm allowed to weigh.
Really? Mm-hmm. Wow. Have the requirements changed at all over the years?
They did. They used to be.
They have to, huh?
Up until literally like just this past fall, they used to give you an accommodation for your age, right? So as you age, your metabolism slows down. But
what about if you've had a child?
Yeah, you get a window.
Okay.
You don't get forever, but you get a window to get back into fighting shape. But I am right now at the upper limits of what's acceptable.
That's ridiculous.
Wow.
Yeah. Like if I were 1 pound fatter, I'd be counseled. They'd put me on a food and nutrition plan.
So some people
that's the article. They're body shaming right now.
Some people have like eating disorders as a result.
Well, a lot of the guys have a problem because they're big into powerlifting or weightlifting. They're solidly muscle, but proportionate to their height, they're overweight.
Well, they got to overlook that then. It's got to be a case by case, right?
Sometimes when you get to that point, they tape you. They will literally, like, for women, they tape your chest, your waist, and your hips. And I have an enormous ass. And so sometimes when I don't pass height weight, then I get taped as well. And then it's always a very funny, like, moment when you go from like 34, 28 to 40. It's like
some people think that that's a big plus. I'm one of them. But that's crazy. And now, what is the situation? I remember there was an article in the Times about the big issue with HGH and steroids and stuff like that with people that were in, there's a name for it that I always forget, when they were training for Navy SEALs. Is that overall, I would assume? People wanting an edge. Also, I would assume the government kind of looks the other way on that.
No, we don't. I
Really?
mean, I'm not.
Don't you want a super soldier?
We test for so much, like CBD. You're not a.
That's right.
Wow.
Good God.
If you have too
We
much
need recruits. This is not the way to do it.
Sudafed, like I think that's the active ingredient, like
Right.
NyQuil.
Yes.
So
that could be used to make other bad things.
yeah, if you have too much of that in your system, you would piss hot. And so it depends on what you are, right? Like as an officer, you get no flexibility.
Right.
If you're enlisted, they're like, hey, don't do that. Or they might knock you down a rank, or they might give you additional duty. Like they'll find some form of punitive measures to implement. But on the officer side, there's almost no allowances.
Do you know what the requirements are for like other countries, like in terms of strictness in size and drug testing? Do you know?
No, actually, I really don't. And I don't know that drug use is I feel like as casual.
Sure.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But other countries are much, like, they're bigger drinkers, and yet they don't have the same problem with alcohol the way we do. It's weird. Like, Germany is a huge drinking country, but you don't hear about, like, the incidents of domestic violence that are also coupled with alcohol.
Well, a lot of it, too, is just because the kids drink so young, it's not as much of a rebellious taboo thing. And when they get it, they don't know when they're going to get it next, so they really go to town.
Yeah.
Whereas if, like, the French give you a 12-year-old glass of wine when they're young, they always know, this is with dinner kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think that's been proven many times before.